Good morning to everyone. Boker tov. I hope I'm right there. I will speak English. I hope you will all understand. I'll try to speak slowly. I would like to say great thank you very much to Udi, who has invited me here. And I'm very pleased I can do a little presentation on EFPA, the European Financial Planning Association. I think we're halfway through the presentation though, so. Right, we better start at the beginning. Who we are. The European Financial Planning Association, EFPA Europe, was founded in 2000, so next year we're going to have 20 years of our existence. Currently we are in 13 countries, and I'm very proud to say that Israel is one of the countries that EFPA is acting in. We've just accepted Israel as a new EFPA member. We are a professional standard setting body and certification. I'll show you in a minute what certification and qualification standards that we have across Europe. From what we do, we try and influence market behavior of our members, in which case we create the greater trust and confidence of the consumers. Because if the qualification and ethical standards of the professionals are higher, then obviously it has a positive impact on the clients and customers. Brief introduction in numbers. We have over 40,000 certificate holders across Europe. As I mentioned, 13 countries in Europe, including Israel. We work with corporate partners in each country, and we also cooperate with accredited universities and training centers, because we try and basically separate education from the certification. That way we have independent standard and qualification committee, which is not dependent on the education, therefore we can examine independently. We operate within the countries, we support local events, and we organize European events on our own. Some of you that I've recognized here had actually participated in May in Austria, in Vienna, at an European event which we call the think tank. That's basically gathering certified financial advisors and planners from different countries who speak on different topics prepared in advance, and we share experience from different countries across. Because our membership is very grateful that we can offer best experience and practice from other countries where they can learn. We promote the compulsory CPDs, continuous professional development, which is part of the certification, and all the regulators really appreciate that our members have to keep up with the qualification updated. And we promote ethical standards. EFPA has its ethical code, and everyone who gets certification has to sign and keep up with the ethical standards. Here are the certification standards that we offer at the moment. The two lower ones, the European Investment Assistance and Practitioner, they are linked with the capital markets with MiFID. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with MiFID, MiFID II European regulation, so these two are linked with that. Our flagship of EFPA Europe is the EFA, the European Financial Planner, and the EFB, EFA, European Financial Advisor, and EFB, European Financial Planner. The EFB level is equivalent to CFP, which you might be in this country more familiar with. Each of the standards has its allocation with the European qualification framework, so we actually keep up across the continuity of the qualification across Europe. What is financial planning for FPA, how we perceive it? It's a process of developing strategies to help people to manage their wealth, their finances, but obviously taking into consideration what they have collected over the years and maybe just work with it rather than changing all once they start with the financial planning. It's very client-centered, and it's delivered by professional, qualified professionals. In that case, it's a win-win-win situation for all the consumers, regulators, and for the professionals as well. What we see across Europe is changing of business models. It goes very much away from the sales towards the advice and financial planning. So we're basically leaving the model of one-time sale approach to continuing proactive service and long-term relationship with the clients. We move from less educated clients to more educated clients because obviously Mr. Google and internet brings a lot of information. The products are more complex and therefore people read more and they are more aware of what's going on. And obviously to keep that up and actually go over, we have to go from less educated to more educated and qualified advisors and planners. I think you've heard it here before from the gentleman from the regulation that qualification is the key element to go forward. Talking from sales to advice, I participate at different conferences in different countries and you hear, rather than advisor or planner, they even talk about client advocate or coach or financial therapist. So all these definitions basically say there has to be a long-term relationship between the client and the advisor, because the advisor or a planner, the only capital they have in their enterprise, in their profession, is the relationship with their clients. They have to work with it, they have to keep it up. And obviously you have to focus on the fulfillment of the client's goals, because very often, and that goes with a therapist maybe or a financial coach, often you find yourselves in the practice with your clients that they very often don't know what their goals should be, what their financial achievements should be in life. So that's why they have you, and you need to be highly qualified to help them, to lead them basically through their financial life. Here are some of the priority focuses of the client's needs. I will not read them out, you can see that, but I'll mention a couple, which is maybe security of the use technologies. Because with the fintech tools and the electronic world and communication, very often clients do not know how to use them and what can be used online, maybe by themselves, and what needs to be used, supervised by the advisor. Therefore, with the robo-advice age, we still feel that the live advisor needs to be there to supervise the clients to actually go through and maybe consider even some cyber criminality. What is important as well is upkeeping the lifestyle. So basically planning for retirement, but often people, especially if they are young, they don't want to hear about planning for retirement. So we try to make them realize that what they're gonna need for the future is keeping their lifestyle which they have while they're working, because if you don't have the income, you need to have it somewhere else to actually support yourself for the age where you want to enjoy your retirement. EU regulation brings a lot of effects, and I think they are coming to Israel if they are not here already. What are they? Transparency. I guess you have all that here. Remuneration. It's going from basically commission to fee-based advice, fee-based planning, because that's more fair to the client and it's more transparent as well. Conflicts of interest. Of course, there are conflicts of interest, but if they are set and dealt with the clients, then they basically vanish because they are addressed. So that's another thing that the regulation forces us to do. Treating clients fairly, consumer protection, I think we all would be aware of that. And greater professionalism and qualifications, including the continuous professional development. I've mentioned MiFID, the directive dealing with capital markets in Europe. As you can see, it's number 2. So we've had one implemented in 2007, and from 2018. We've got a revision, basically, and you can see behind me that it's a very complex directive which needs to be implemented in all European countries. And if Israel is thinking of implementing it here, maybe we could help with some experience within Europe that we have already, so you don't have to repeat mistakes which have been done in a lot of countries. But what is important is that a lot of it, it's all that in the green part plus the red, it's focusing on the client's protection. So you can see there is a lot of things that influence the relationship between the advisor and the client. The MiFID II is a directive which is issued by the European Parliament. The Commission prepares it, the Parliament passes it through. Then we have European supervisory bodies. ESMA is for capital markets, then there's one for banking and one for insurance companies. And they influence the implementation and further rules. For us as EFPA, it's very important, the minimum standards of knowledge and competence, which they basically prescribe what the content of the qualification should be to comply with this regulation. On the national level, there is a lot of other influences that come into the implementation, because each country, being it the regulator creating the legislative code, or the local supervisor, being it often the central bank, they have their local issues and local agenda, which they usually try and transpose into the implementation. Therefore, there are differences across countries. We at EFPA did a comparison of the competence framework in each country dealing with MiFID, and we found out that there are no 2 countries which would actually have the implementation only within the competence framework the same. So you can see that although you have one regulation, the actual implementation in each country can be quite different. This is the comparison chart we did on the EFPA standards with the ESMA guidelines, and we found out that we comply with that all across the requirements, being the competencies, the ethical standards, the compliance, the quality standard across Europe, which we can be consistent, because the standard that we have in our certification is basically the same for all the countries that accept EFPA qualifications. There are obviously 20% in each part of the standard that we leave for the local legislation, tax usually, and basically market behavior, which can't be compared, so we need to implement that locally. So about 80% of the standard across the whole Europe where EFPA is acting, it is the same, so we are consistent across Europe. What we create is basically respected professionals that can help the consumers to release the constant pressures, because as you can see all across the life and the influences, the clients need someone to take him through. We started with sale, going towards the advice, and here it's the very complex chart of the financial well-being. So you can see that's all I said basically through my short presentation. It comes to here, to this last slide, where you can see it as the whole life of financial well-being, starting with the learning, education, competence, trust, ethics, behavioral finance. That's something which is very, I would say, modern in our European world is the behavior of finance, how clients react to certain things, and how to count with their reaction for the future strategies. Because once the client is in the financial plan, then it's important to keep him there till the end, rather than letting him go sideways and maybe do things on his own. Good advisor needs to stay with the client and take him through all the life. That's all from me here. I'm going to be here across the break together with a colleague of mine, Karim Zudi. If there is any question, if you'd like to speak to us, are interested in anything that we could share with you from experience from our countries and from what we do, we'll be very happy to help. And I hope we can see you sometimes at our future European events, and maybe having you as members of certified financial advisors or planners. Thank you very much.